Welcome everybody. Y'all ready for this? The Hustle. My name is Steve Aramopoulos, and these are my co-hosts.
I'm Talia.
And I'm Tech Luciano. You may have heard me on radio, you may have never heard of me at all, but that's okay.
Cause y'all gon' learn today. Your whole life was a struggle, had to make it out the jungle. This is a show for you. Welcome to the hustle. Under pressure, never break a fold. Keep chasing your goals until you blow. Now, welcome to the hustle.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Hustle Podcast. Got Talia in the building, got Tech on my right, and we got a very special guest. We got Jordanne Erichsen from Express Voice Studio in the building.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Welcome.
I'm really excited to be here and talk to you about what the studio is.
That's exactly why you're on the show today. And we have so many artists, so many graphic designers, tattoo artists that come on the show.
Yeah.
But we haven't had anybody that's a vocal coach
Right.
or that owns a studio that.
What a gap in your program.
we need
man.
to
Talia
know more
needs
about
work, bro.
Yeah.
Tech said he needs to learn how to properly sing.
I never said that. You said that.
So yeah,
I think I'm pretty fired to begin with.
But you could just be like a William Hung situation, you know? I think he thought he was really good too. He's the guy
No.
We use auto-tune over here. That's why.
Right. Well, okay, but auto-tune's like a whole topic in itself, right?
We'll get to that. We'll get to
Yeah.
that.
Oh, we will.
Perfect.
We will.
So-
Why are you looking at me?
Because I'm triggered right now. Even though Steve attacked me, but
He's
whatever.
triggered,
Fuck
but
it.
stares at me like he wants to kill me. Fuck.
So Jordanne, like I said before, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, whether it was in the music field, whether it was like, how did this whole thing come about, Express Voice Studio?
Totally. That's kind of like a meta journey I'll just take you on. So I used to fall asleep with CBC radio under my pillow, and like something about opera, like just, I don't know, I would get the chills and I fall asleep to it every night, and I loved it so much. So I ended up going to university for opera. I did my undergrad in Saskatchewan. Don't recommend it. It's not much going on there.
Tumbleweeds.
Honestly, though, they exist. Then my master's was in Ottawa, and then I had a scholarship, so I went and studied privately in New York for a while. Damn. And the whole time, I put a lot of pressure on myself that I want to be a performer. I want to make a full-time income from opera, and the scene of opera in Canada is basically non-existent. You'd have to go to Europe or something, and I was totally down for that. But I had a very existential crisis happening where I wasn't really happy, and I kept having this dream. And I was on my way home from the gym, and you know the little tree fort book things people put their books in.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I just was pulled to it. I was like, I'm gonna check out this tree fort book thing, and there was a book called Gestalt Therapy, which sounds so hippie, but basically this guy, he says that you should take your dream and analyze it and be every part of your dream. And I kept having this dream. So I went to the dock at my cabin, and I sat down on my birthday, and I was like, I'm going to analyze this dream. And I realized that for me, the joy was in helping people be able to own their voice and not have pain, because it took me so long to figure out. I had so many teachers that used random metaphors that didn't make sense. And I basically was the worst singer ever after 4 years of university. And I had to undo all of this and figure it out. And I didn't want other people to have shitty teachers, basically. I don't believe that people who can't do should teach. Like, if you can't do, don't teach it. So then I was like, how can I build something where good artists who know what they're doing vocally can find a platform where they can work with professional recording artists, other people that want to learn how to sing, and give them the ability to do so healthily. And so I built Express Voice Studio. I don't know why I chose to do that in Montreal, because I'm not French. I don't speak French, but I did. And it's been very successful. We've worked with recording artists. There's currently 12 professional artists in opera, pop, jazz, everything that are teachers through the studio. But then what's really interesting is a lot of the recording artists, they're not teachers with the studio, but they come for vocal coaching. So that's like Skyfall, Magi Merlin, Alex Nichols, lots of different people. And rappers as well, like Dom Davino has come to me before. So we work with them, we help them do what they want with their voice. And it's a really cool community of artists who teach, not people who can't teach.
That's
That's fire.
it's a very cool community. I like the
Yeah.
concept. You said something about expanding to Toronto and other territories.
Yeah, so built it in Montreal first, and like I said, there's 12 teachers now, but I want this to be in Toronto, in Ottawa. I want to be in every major city in Canada, because what's different with Express from other music schools is that if you were a teacher with another music school, they're going to tell you this is how much you can charge per hour, and we're going to take 40, 50, 60% of it. So I don't do that. I say you choose what you want. The payout is super minimal, and basically the money goes back into advertising for you as an artist, as a teacher. And so you make money. So they make money. They have more time to dedicate towards their own art, and the world goes around and round. Like, why would I take 60% of what you're worth? And why would I ever tell you what you can charge as a singer? You're only worth $24 an hour. Well, that's bullshit. Like, you're worth 90 if you think you are. So everyone makes good money, and that's really important to me, that artists can sustain what they want to do with their life. Like, if I'm trying to put out an album, that's expensive. So how am I going to make money to do that? Go work at a hair salon for 8 hours? Now I'm exhausted at the end of the day. People do it. But for me, I have a limited amount of energy, and I want to get paid what I think I'm worth, and then have time to dedicate towards the things I want to be doing with my art. And I want that for everybody.
That's
And now they have it.
That's the way to look at life, because there's only so much time in a day,
Yeah.
and it's what you're worth. If I'm not gonna go work at McDonald's for X amount of hours a day, I'm not hating on anybody working at McDonald's, but it's not for me. Maybe it's somebody that's coming up at that certain point. It's their first job or whatever it is, or it's been a lifelong career,
Yeah.
and they're happy with that. But I know that I would like something better, and to get that, you have to do something that you love. You know, it has to be something that you love, something that you're passionate about. And if you can make it into a business that grows and it works for you in the end, that's beautiful. It's a very great thing.
I personally like what you're doing, because it's like, shouldn't feel like work for these other artists. It should feel like their art being shared and portrayed with other people while getting paid. So can I sign up?
Yeah.
Just
For
got in
real, you
touch with them.
can. Yeah, so we're recruiting teachers for Toronto and Ottawa right now. And the big thing for me was interesting is I built the website. I did everything from scratch. I'm a really big advocate for don't pay for someone to do something that you can teach yourself how to do, even if it takes a little bit more time. So I built the website, I did the marketing, and we were on the first page of Google within a couple of months for English. But for French, it took so long. So we just redid the site, and now it's on the first page for French and English, which I love. And now I was like, okay, we're ready to do this in other cities. So it's a bit of a shout out that if you're an artist in Toronto or Ottawa and you want to make some money, then I want to hear from you, because you might be good for the team.
We have quite a few people watching from Ottawa and Toronto. So
Yeah.
hit her up. Start to connect right there. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I'm excited. I think that it's going to change the face of being a voice artist in Canada. Like, you don't need to be grinding it out so much, which is exciting.
As far as the whole business model, was there some competition that was out there and you modeled it after, or it was just something that you're like, I'm going to start this from scratch. I don't know how to build it up. Like, how did it come to be from that spectrum?
I mostly knew what I hated about other music schools, and that being that they were telling me what I was worth and limiting what I could make. Like, I'd have to work 8-hour days again just to pay for the lifestyle I wanted. There was a friend of mine who had the same business model for piano, though, and he runs Tristan Lauber Music Academy, but it's all focused on piano. He's a really great pianist. And so I talked to him about his business model, and I was like, I'm going to do this for voice. But the thing with business is I listen to a lot of business podcasts, and the best business people know that you have to always be on the hunt for basically that opening in the market. So if you go and you look up voice teachers, vocal coaches in Toronto, you're going to get so many pages with great SEO, great marketing. And in Montreal, there was like nothing. Like, I couldn't believe it. There was like maybe 2 people that always popped up. Their websites were old. They had no Google My Business page. They didn't use social media. And I was almost like, this is too good to be
It's
true.
like an old lady in her apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 100%
Old music teacher.
Yes,
That's
and
true.
she has a classical background also, so, and that's not for everybody. Like, yes, opera singers can teach you how to sing with good breath, etc. But if you're a recording artist, you're a rapper, you have a certain aesthetic you're looking for, I don't think that someone who can only do opera is maybe the best choice for you. So all I had to do was build something that was new and that was serving a need. And then it was there. And like I said, it only took a month to be on the first page of Google.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I don't want to say it didn't take work. Like the website took quite a few
course.
hours to build,
Of course.
but there was an opening. And I feel super blessed that I saw it because somebody else could have done the same thing, honestly.
Definitely.
But they weren't gonna do it. You did it.
I did it.
And
Millions.
that's why you're here.
That's right.
Millions of people in the city, and you were the first one, like not the first one, but the first one to create this new platform
Yeah.
and get in on the ground floor when there's no competition.
Yeah.
How long ago was it that you established the business?
3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
Nice.
So that was weird with COVID, right? Like to launch something and then have COVID come, I didn't know what would happen. But people got to a point during the pandemic that they're like, hey, I'm at home, nothing to do,
Got some
can't go
extra
do
money.
anything. I've always wanted to sing. Let me go take some lessons. I got some extra income. And so it blew up. Like in that first year of COVID, we had a 100% growth in the amount of students in the studio. So now we're in year 3 and the studio went from 2 teachers in year 1 to 12 teachers in year 3. It's astronomical. So like, thank you pandemic, I guess. I don't
There's some things we can thank it for, but
but not many. So
we want our
gotta take
freedoms
the
back.
ones.
We want our freedoms back.
Yes. Yeah.
He's got a pitchfork ready, this guy.
And when you have like your students come into the studio and you guys are teaching them, do they like record a song? Like how does it work? What's the steps they should be looking out for?
Everybody's different. Like someone coming just for a hobby will probably just work on a song they want to do, maybe make a recording. But with more professional singers, sometimes they'll have the vocal coach come to the recording studio with them. I think that's a great idea because if you're running a song that is really vocally challenging or you just want some feedback on like vocally, how am I sounding? What do you think? It's great to have a vocal coach there. For me, I come from a background of Alexander techniques. So I'm going to look at the singer and say, this is what you're doing great. These flaws in your voice actually make your voice unique. But if you're doing, 6 shows a week or you're doing a tour, is it going to cost you or are you maybe going to lose your voice? So we look at how can we strengthen your voice without taking away what makes it unique. But then if a rapper comes, and that's different because that's not really singing. A lot of rappers, they speak on pitch.
Yeah, it's all breath control.
Is breath control and speaking on pitch. So then it's like, okay, how do I just connect you to your voice and show you how to do it with power? How do you pull off your voice and maybe speak airy, more sultry, and then jump back in? And that's a really unique challenge because it's not the same as singing. It's different.
That's crazy.
Is everybody able to sing? Like, let's say I come in.
Ooh, no.
No?
No,
Let's hear
Thank you.
this.
Oh my God. I had this argument with someone like 2 days ago where they're like, anyone could learn how to sing. And I'm like,
they can't.
no, not everyone could do
You
it.
just hurt my feelings right now. I wanted to sing
I'm not
opera in the
saying that you
shower.
can. I'm just saying that not everybody can. And let me build this out for you. Some people are tone deaf. Okay, they actually
That's
are.
exactly what I
They
said. Thank
actually
you.
are tone
fact.
deaf.
That's a fact.
So I play a C on the piano and they hear it differently. So they'll never be able to match that pitch. But how do you know if someone's tone deaf or just really bad? That's the question. Because Tamar, who's a teacher in our studio, she's a very good opera singer. She was tone deaf for like 6 months. She just told me this the other night, where her teacher will play a note and she could not hit the note. So now she's not tone deaf. Now she's a great opera singer. And I've never had someone who's tone deaf. I've had people in the beginning, they were, and then we worked at it and they were able to sing better, start hitting pitches, but it's a longer journey for them. Everyone starts at a different place, but some people can't sing. No, I won't lie
Tell
to
me
you.
if this makes sense, because the way I look at it is like, I feel like, well, you kind of just debunked it a little bit, but I feel like most people could hit the notes, but for me, it's like, even if some people, even when they're hitting the notes, their fucking voice just sounds awful. Like,
It's
no?
true.
I think this is when we get into the auto-tune part of the
No,
conversation.
not even necessarily, because
a
there's people
little
who sound
bit.
bad with auto-tune too. Like,
No, that's true. So this is hard. It's a hard reality for some people, okay? Not everybody can sing, and some people can sing, but they don't have a voice. And what I mean by that is you're doing everything right,
Yeah,
but there's
technically.
nothing unique about your sound, or your sound just isn't pleasant.
Okay.
And if it's not pleasant because you're like pitching all your sound into a nasality place, that's one thing, we can fix that. But if you're a singer who your voice just actually is really pinched, then maybe it's just not the path for you.
yes.
And I think it's important as a teacher to be honest with your students.
That must
If-
be an awkward conversation though. Like, listen.
for me, I feel like it's a blessing. You know, in university,
Really?
there were so many singers where I'm like, why doesn't our teacher tell them they should choose something
You should be an
else?
accountant.
That's why you
Yeah.
see
You can
work for
people
Express
go
Play
on like
Studio.
auditions for shows like American Idol, and they sound like shit, and they're like, everyone says I'm the best. It's like, no,
So-
man, they lying to you.
They
bitch.
lie.
So you're telling me that kid from that kid from The Simpsons that works at Krusty Burger can't sing?
I don't know this
You know,
kid.
you know which one?
No.
No.
Hey, Mr. Simpson.
Oh.
That
Okay,
scraggly
Steve.
voice.
No. I feel bad because I know
Pull up the
Simpsons is like
reference later,
legendary,
but,
but I
like,
don't know how to pull
no
up
one's
the
catching
reference.
on
Oh,
right
yeah.
now.
Nobody knows Simpsons.
Nobody
You're out.
does.
I know who you're
That's a
talking
shot.
about,
That's a
but I
shot.
don't know exactly
Take a
what
shot, Steve. That's a shot. You
episode
just
or-
earned
No,
yourself
hell
a
no.
shot.
No more shots.
No more
We're
shots.
good.
Yeah. He's good. He's had enough.
Yeah.
He's had enough.
But I think, honestly, I think it is a blessing to tell someone like you just don't have the voice for what you're trying to do, because a music career is stressful and there's so many lows. And if you're working towards something that isn't realistic, like someone should tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if you trust your vocal coach and they say it isn't right, then okay, go find something else, right? But then there's auto tune, or what apparently we're supposed to call it, pitch correction. I've been told by Brandon of Makeway Studios not to call it
It sounds so
auto
seductive.
tune.
Yeah, but no, everybody knows
we're-
what auto-tune is.
We're gonna call
Not
it
everybody
auto-tune.
knows what
Yeah.
pitch correction is, so you can say auto-tune.
We'll just say auto-tune.
Yeah.
So auto-tune is interesting because it seems like every singer is using it, and it
Yep.
creates a unique sound that I think is
Sounds
very
polished.
2022. It sounds super, super polished. And I don't have a problem with it. But sometimes when singers come to me, they'll like play the recording and I'm like, okay, but I don't know what you sound like because I can hear the auto tune.
Right.
And they're like, oh, but that's the aesthetic. I'm like, okay, but you're here not for me to tell you if your auto tune aesthetic is good. You're here to sing, because I imagine when you're on stage, you want to sing. Like maybe you want to use the pitch correction, but like maybe no.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
A lot of people do.
So there's times where a singer comes in and they're okay, but you know with pitch correction, it will sound good. So you're just building their instrument now. And then there are other times that you have someone come in and they want to use pitch correction all the time. And it's like, okay, is that your aesthetic or is it a crutch? So I'm kind of on the fence with pitch correction. I think if it's used well, that's great, but you shouldn't be relying on it as an artist. I
Yeah.
think you want to build yourself the best as you can.
But there are these artists out there that their whole thing is pitch correction, right? It's all
Yeah.
auto-tune.
100%.
So would
100%.
let's say this big artist that comes in, can he find a vocal coach to teach him how to sing for
Yeah.
autotune?
I mean,
Like,
is
you
he
gotta
using
sing
pitch correction because like he
on
loves
stage.
it?
Well,
or...
and that's the conversation, because
needs
if you look at, forget about T-Pain, the obvious example. If you look at a
Yeah.
guy like Rod Wave, for example, he can fucking sing, bro. If you look at there's Rod Wave, even Post Malone can fucking sing.
Ariana
He can sing.
Grande.
He can sing.
Straight up.
Yeah, but hers
Yeah.
is not so obvious. Hers is kind of
You hear
turned
it.
down. You know what I
You
mean?
still hear it.
But I'm talking about like the rappers who are like the Rich Homie Quans and that it's all the way up to 100. But a lot of these guys can sing. And the thing is, like, as an engineer and an artist who uses it myself, what a lot of people who maybe are not in the industry or whatever you want to call it don't understand is that singing for autotune is actually kind of an art in and of
It
itself. Because what
is.
people don't understand is that if you can't at least at the bare minimum get like the notes somewhat on point, it's not gonna sound good.
Yeah,
Your
'cause
shit's
if you
gonna
can't
sound
sing with
Yeah.
auto-tune, you're gonna hear that you can't sing with
Exactly.
auto-tune.
Of
course, but
So
the
there's
argument-
a technique behind it as well.
But the argument is, because look, a lot of times when people do go and record it in the booth, it's they're testing it out, right? They're
Yes.
trying to see what sounds good.
I guess.
So let's say you nail that in the booth. Now you got to perform this song live, and you want to use the pitch correction. Can you nail it every time the same way you did it?
Well,
in the-
you can
Yeah.
because once you understand how to sing, that's what I was originally trying to say, is that the way you perform for autotune is actually like, I would sing it completely different than if I was actually trying to nail every single note, right? Like with autotune, I find that your notes are a lot more drawn out because you really want the autotune to kick in and do its job. So you'll draw out the notes, like the landings and stuff like that.
It's
Much
almost
longer,
like you want
know?
a straight tone sing
Exactly,
so that the
exactly.
computer can pick up what key you're in, what pitches
Exactly.
you're trying to hit.
Exactly.
Because a vibrato, some people have crazy vibrato, it confuses the
Yeah.
pitch correction
It
machine.
sounds horrible.
It's like, I don't know what note you're
Like it's
trying
gonna
to
be
hit.
like, I love you. And you go, I love you.
Yes, yes.
You're going to hear it.
Yeah. And if someone has that wobble, that vibrato, and they're like, can you just clean it up? If you try to flatten someone's vibrato with the auto tune, it sounds like a robot. Like,
Yeah,
that's
but
aggressive.
To be fair, there's some functions in the auto tune itself that can help around those.
It's getting
Oh,
better.
yeah.
It's getting much better. Like
Do you
Metatune
use
is like the
Waves?
new
Waves
auto
auto-tune?
tune. Waves is good too, but try Metatune. Metatune is
Eh.
like the new kid on the block. It's pretty fucking fire.
Is that
I gotta say.
the black and blue one?
Black and purple?
Oh, okay, so I guess they changed its color.
Super fire, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole. Don't get me started on the producing aspect of
Yeah.
it. But yeah, no, like, so that's just like I've actually had this argument on the show, so I'm glad that we have like a vocal coach
Okay.
now, because we
Yeah.
can
We needed
really
somebody
go
to set
back
the
and
record
forth,
straight.
because I want to be proven right.
Chill,
goddamn
bro,
it.
chill.
What can I validate for you here? Like,
I think she just she validated what I was thinking this
You're
whole time.
validated, Tech. Don't worry about it.
you have a gift. If you can auto tune sing correctly, for sure. Like,
Nah, low key,
It's
I
a
could
skill.
kind of sing. Like, I'm not
Give
a
us
singer
something
by
right
any
now.
means. It's not happening. I'm not warmed up. You know what I'm saying? But no, I could kind of sing, but not like I wouldn't like put out an R&B album anytime soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
but
don't
it's
know
a
how to
different
sing.
aesthetic. It's different. Like, I don't expect a rapper to sing like Mooney Long, who's like the R&B queen. You know, it's just different. So, this is a good point too, is that people come to me and they're like, I love this singer's aesthetic. And I say, okay, but they're an R&B singer. Can you riff? Can you do runs? And that's something to a great extent you're kind of born with. Like, there's such a feeling to R&B music and the runs that you have to lose yourself in it. It's a loss of control to hit notes that fast. So not everybody can sound like their favorite artist. So when you're starting to find your voice, listen to people that you like, yeah, but then ask yourself, okay, what do I feel? What does my voice sound good doing?
Right.
Because not every voice can do everything. And not every voice can sing in every range, you know? Like, not everyone is Justin Bieber and you can like sing in the falsettos, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We need multiple different styles.
I feel like
of
the
voices.
greatest runner of all time was R. Kelly. He would just go off on runs for like, bro, he would take like a 2-minute song and turn it into a 4-minute song, just runs, bro. He's incredible.
He was. It's just a shame about
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's just
I mean,
a
for sure.
really bad person. You know?
Well, I mean, he's
Just
still
a shame
it still doesn't
Good voice.
doesn't take
bad
away his
soul.
singing ability.
I remember that song, The Closet. Remember The Closet? It
Yeah.
just ran and ran and ran. The Closet? I'm in the closet.
Yeah.
The problem is all his songs, all the lyrics
Yeah,
are
it's
like
kind of
yeah,
in
it's a little-
retrospect, it's kind
I
of
know.
creepy
It's
as
a little
fuck.
bad, yeah.
So many questions.
Age ain't nothing but a number and shit. Like,
Is it though?
damn, R, like,
We see that now.
damn, R.
We see you, R. Kelly.
Yeah. I Believe I Can Fly. I mean, that song.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that one's imprinted in my head from childhood. I have so
know.
many
Space
great
Jam,
memories.
baby.
Space Jam.
So many
hell
great
yeah.
memories.
Yes.
All I needed was a chicken wing.
Yeah.
Remember
Made
that?
by Burger King. It was always
So yeah, I wanted to know too, like this whole opera thing. Like you said, you were CBC listening to opera and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
How did it? Let us know more about it. Like I want to know. Can you sing a little bit of opera for us? I want
Oh,
to see
it's
how
so
great it sounds.
loud. It's so loud.
It's
It's
okay.
You're really
okay.
just gonna put her on the spot, like,
I don't know
I'm putting
honestly
everybody
if
on
you
the
could
spot,
like
man.
change the sound to work with the mic. Like it's a
Just give us
thing.
one note.
Okay, I'll back away.
I want to feel like I'm in a horror. Holy shit!
Good.
That was crazy.
Oh, it doesn't like
That's all we needed.
projection
That's all we
right
needed.
break. So tell you about opera. Opera is crazy hard. And everyone seems to have a different approach to it. Like I've probably spent $50K on my education as an opera singer. It's expensive. Like my voice teacher in New York, he was 160 American an hour, and I was doing like 4 lessons a week because I wanted to drill it so hard. And the idea with opera is you have to connect to your chest voice, right? Like that's your core sound. And you'll even notice people like they talk like this, like, okay, maybe you sound cool, but you're killing your voice. You're not connected to your core sound.
Right.
So sometimes I even get like tour guides that come to me and they say my voice, my throat, it just hurts so much. So you have to teach them to connect to their
Say
sound.
it with your chest.
Yeah, say it with honestly though. But good rappers can do that.
Yeah,
They're really
yeah.
connected to their power. So that's what an opera singer is doing as well. But then they're funneling their air through basically the space in your skull and bouncing the sound off of your bones and creating overtones. So there's a level of overtone that the human voice can get that no other instrument can, which is why you go to an opera, you have this like 200-person orchestra, you'll always hear the singer over top because of the overtones. So it's this incredibly difficult art form, but then when you hear it, if you hear a good singer, there's a symbiotic reaction in your body that you just like feel hollow and warm. You're just, it's like, whoa, like why is that vibrating inside my skull right now? It's insane.
Thank you for doing what you just did. Sorry for putting you on the spot, like Tex said.
Look at me like
But
that.
like also, you just mentioned it puts you in a vibe, like you feel something, right?
Yes.
I feel two ways when I listen to opera. It's either like I feel like serenity, 'cause it just feels so nice, you know what I mean? And it's like, or I get really scared because I think it's like a horror movie. You know, when you hear
Oh my
when you hear it in the
gosh,
horror
dude.
movies and you have the cults and stuff like that. I was just watching one recently on Netflix. And there was
Okay.
always opera music in the background that for these ominous moments.
Yeah.
So it's either or for me.
I'm weird. I feel like with opera, I'm gonna go clap some shit up. Let's
Like
go.
some
We
Yeah.
slow motion, like shooting at someone with the.
It's used a lot in gangster movies
Yeah.
these
Gangster
days.
movies.
So
You'll
maybe
hear
that's
like
what it is.
Tosca in the background in some James Bond movie, and then you're like, I know opera. You're like, you know Tosca. You're like, no one scene, but it's like very epic, very intense.
It's a lot usually too when they kill a lot of mafia guys.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's true. Something about the Italian or the Russian mafia. There's always like some opera singer
Yeah.
in the background.
It's crucial.
Yeah, it's very crucial. But it's not for everybody. Like I think opera is really fascinating for the human capacity to make sound that's that strong and intense. But I think that other styles of singing in their own way are just as hard. Like to be able to do runs, you need a musical ear for hearing harmony, for rhythm, for ingenuity, because you don't want to just be copying other people's runs. And actually, opera singers used to do that in the Baroque era. You would be given like just a chord progression, and the conductor would give it to the singer and be like, embellish it, and you would come up with pages of runs, which is basically what an R&B singer does today in their own way. A rap, like that's poetry, you know? So every form has its own challenges. And I always tell the singers I work with that if you are trying to be professional, you want to build a team. So maybe you have your producer and you have your media person, but who's looking out for your voice? So like a vocal coach is essential, in my opinion, for your long-term vocal health.
Especially for people who are like on tour and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Night after night after night. Like I remember I went to a Bon Jovi concert, and this was like maybe 10 years ago. So he still wasn't young back then. He sang full tilt for like 3 I was fucking blown away because I know that he's going to Ottawa to do this again tomorrow, and then to Toronto, and then to and I was just, I couldn't believe, like he sounded just as good live as he did on the record, and I was fucking blown away.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, his vocal coach needs to get paid extra because that shit was crazy. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I agree.
Yeah. But there's also learned singing versus innate talent. Like some people
Just have
wake
it.
up and they just have it. Like Justin Bieber was a child star, not because he was a child, because he was really good, like playing all these instruments, vocally just had it. But the problem with being naturally talented is if something goes wrong, you don't know how to fix it. And that's why people who are naturally talented, in my opinion, don't make the best teachers, because they can tell you this is what it feels like in my body, but they don't actually know how they're producing it. They don't know, like say you're trying to sing this line and it's an ascending line and it keeps getting stuck in your throat. They don't know what that feels like because that's not a problem that they have. So they're like, oh, just don't do that. You know, I'm making a little simplified here, but someone who's had every vocal problem in the book and has figured out how to overcome it, they can be like, I've been where you are. This is how you get out of that. And so if you're a singer going on tour and you're singing all the time and you lose your voice, you don't know why. And it's kind of too late. Like you should have been working with a vocal coach already, because maybe you have nodes now. Like we see that with Adele had vocal problems where she had to take a break for a while. Mariah Carey's
scary.
voice just like broke for a while.
That was scary.
Like she came out for this like Christmas show. It's still on YouTube, and you can hear her hitting every note, but the note she's supposed to hit.
Wasn't that the New Year's Eve show?
Yeah.
that was
really
the one.
bad.
People were like, what, is she high? And I'm like, no, she probably had nodes or something, and her chords just weren't coming together, but it was like weird, and you don't expect that. But if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know how to take care of it.
And meanwhile, she's like one of the greatest vocalists of all time. Like,
Yeah.
Yo, I grew up on Mariah, bro.
Mariah. With the whistle tones.
Yeah. I've never met a person who could replicate that like fully.
No.
It's crazy.
No, she was pretty dope.
Hell yeah, bro.
A little crazy, but
That's all right.
yeah.
We were speaking a little bit before. You mentioned meeting a few people, Clay Aiken, and did you say Clay Aiken? I think before.
Oh, I've never met Clay
Oh,
Aiken.
okay.
No.
No, we were
saying-
talking about
you're saying.
American Idol
Talking about
winners.
Somebody
American
said something.
Idol.
Yeah, we were talking about American Idol and the
Clay
winners.
Aiken.
I don't know.
Clay
And then we
Aiken.
brought up
Shout
random-
out to Clay
we brought
Aiken.
up random
guy.
names. We're like Kelly Clarkson.
I could have sworn I heard you say.
No,
met
I
this
said
person.
No.
I'm the modern day Ruben Studdard. That's
Okay,
where it
after
came
that,
from.
Okay, after
That's
that,
where
I
it
could have
came from.
sworn we were saying some. I
People-
met this person or this.
I'm on,
No, I
I'm on
didn't meet
Instagram
Clay
singing, looking real
Aiken.
vulnerable.
Okay,
You know
so
what I'm
Oh
saying?
my god.
sorry, Clay, she didn't meet you.
I didn't meet Clay Aiken.
Not yet.
No,
One
no,
day.
but I mean, it's really cool. Like Skyfall just did a thing with colors, and he's really breaking out, and he works with Verona, one of the teachers in the studio.
See, look.
What's that?
I said, see, we went somewhere with what I
We
was
went-
saying.
we went somewhere
got
with
somewhere.
it.
Who needs
Yeah,
validation
yeah.
now, cocksucker? Go ahead.
Yeah, and not to name drop, like I think there's so many really talented artists that haven't like hit that level of like publicity yet, but that is someone that's just up and coming, and I know Verona's like super pumped for him because I guess he's like more of a shy guy, and he came in for some coaching, and like he's just hitting it now, and he's a rapper, and he can just do really great things with his voice, so that's really cool. And like I'm working with Magi Merlin, and she just did Osheaga, and now she's going on tour through the States. And that's really exciting as a teacher to see students that you work with feel really confident, like, okay, I can like take this to the next level. I love that.
Everybody that you're mentioning, they have good stuff going on for them. It looks
Oh
like,
yeah, and it just
You
feels
feel like
good. I feel
a
so
proud
happy
mom,
for them.
you know?
I do.
First day of school, you're like, I did that.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm always asking in the lessons, like, how does that feel? And they're like, that feels easy. And I'm
Aw,
like,
feels
oh, my
good.
heart. Like, I just want you to be able to make every sound you want, and it feels easy. You know, just tears to my eyes. That's the best. That's the best.
I got a technical singing question for you.
Okay.
I get stuck on the baritone a lot.
On the baritone. Are you a
So-
baritone or are you like
No,
a very tenor?
not really. I'm in the middle somewhere. I'm like high mids, if that makes sense. I don't know the terminologies really. Like I could do an ill falsetto. Shut up. I could do an ill falsetto.
I didn't say anything.
But I'm most comfortable like in the middle. But I would say maybe high middles. But when it comes to do the
Okay.
low takes, I always stick on the fucking baritone. Is there a way to just fucking break through that shit?
Stick, like it feels like you can't drop into it.
Yeah. Like no, like
Okay.
I kind of do drop into it, but then for whatever reason I just can't push it out. Like I can't push through it, you know?
Okay, so then I would wonder if you're supporting your voice through the rest of your range using like more of an aggressive compression style instead of actually releasing. So it always feels like I could go pee when I'm supporting my sound. Like before I breathe in, I always release through my pelvic floor because then when you're singing, it feels like you're riding really, really low.
Okay, I've never felt that.
You've never felt it.
Not once.
So a lot of people don't support that way, but they are just like it works for them. But as soon as you're at the extremities of your range or you're wanting a lot of power, it needs to come from a lower place. And that's why you don't see really great singers going like this when they breathe, because there's an expansion through your pelvic floor, through your intercostal muscles, your back. Your back is huge. So I would think with your low notes that you probably are used to using like your rib cage and your chest to push out your sound.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so since you're compressing, you're decreasing the space in your chest that you need, which is like your chest voice. You need to resonate. So then you're not able to like actually give it power because you're pushing down on it. So it's more about space and peeing yourself.
I will remember
That's
that.
definitely a
Peeing
clip for
yourself
YouTube
and
right
peeing
there.
yourself.
Instagram clip right there.
Yeah, right there. Just pee yourself.
Keep the water out of the studio, yeah?
What the fuck was that?
I don't want to actually pee myself. That's what I'm trying to say.
But she just told you to pee yourself.
Yeah, just a little. It's like that first. I mean, I don't know what it's like to pee as a guy. I'm not a guy, but as a
pretty fun.
girl, there's
fun.
a moment you're like, I'm gonna go pee, and you like release something there,
Yeah, you're like,
and then you could make the choice to like push to pee or not push, and so you don't push
Damn,
because
I
you're
feel
singing.
like that doesn't happen to us.
I think
my
it's the
shit's
other way around.
either
I think-
on or off. Be like,
It's just on or off.
Yeah.
No, there's more down there than you
I
think.
don't know,
Everyone
man.
has a pelvic floor. Everyone has
I
one.
don't know. I can't see
I
mine
think, I
yet.
think it's more of the rectal floor for the
The
guys.
rectal
You gotta
floor.
relax.
I'm not gonna tell
He's
you
gotta
to sing
relax.
through your rectal
He's gotta
floor.
relax right now. Chill the fuck out. That's some Greek shit.
Oh
You're
my
going too far. You're going too far, Steve.
Rectal floor. What's your singing technique? Rectal floor.
Yeah.
You're rectal.
This guy's just squeezing his ass.
Every time I gotta go take a shit. That's what it is.
he lets out a little
Oh man.
on the back.
Nah, not in my studio. That shit's too
Not coming
small.
out the right place.
Nope.
But there was one time I was doing an opera and I ate some really spicy Indian food
Oh,
before.
shit.
Oh, no.
And I actually thought I was going to fart on stage. I was like, this is because everyone always asks, is there anything you shouldn't drink, shouldn't eat, shouldn't do before
Curry.
you
That's a
sing?
good question.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, well, everyone's different. For me, don't eat Indian food or you might shit yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
Butter
that's the
chicken.
thing.
Thank you for being so incredibly honest.
Yeah, like,
I
we
mean,
gotta
come
keep
on.
it real.
It's a fact. She's pushing her pelvic floor real
That's
hard.
right,
now.
real hard.
That's a fact.
Basically giving birth to sound. That's how you'd look
Steve
at it.
wouldn't understand. He uses his rectum.
I know, man.
I don't sing. I'm not a singer.
This
dude.
is Sparta.
Clearly.
But and with other things, there's a really famous opera singer that she says she does a shot of vodka before she sings. She loves it. There was a test they did in Toronto to see how drunk could you get, where it was like getting better because your inhibition is gone, your
Right.
nerves are gone, and so they did like shot, sing, and he was getting better like at these runs. And then there was a tipping point where it just
Yeah.
got really bad.
Like that.
So you don't really know.
That's like me and my Spanish.
It was
When I drink a lot and I'm
Spanish.
in Mexico, trust me, I get better and better every time.
That's like me when I
Sure,
do
ma'am.
shows. I always have to drink at least 2-3 glasses before I go on.
I'm the opposite.
It's
I
not
don't
to be
like it.
better, but it's just to like have some balls to go on.
I get like too aggressive. I fucking just like fuck the professionalism. I'm going off right now. I was like, no, that's not. Wasn't the game plan. I just go off script completely and start like, yeah, it's not good.
You're like Stephen Voice when you performed in front of that one dude,
His friend. It was
Yeah.
actually his friend.
his
yeah.
friend.
That's the greatest
going
performance right there. So you mentioned Verona. You mentioned Colors,
Yeah,
Magi, or I don't
Magi Merlin.
Magi Merlin. Any other honorable mentions that are part of this clique at the Express Voice Studio that need to be name dropped?
Alex Nicol is a recording artist, and he's really great. He's Montreal based as well. Dom Divino, rapper. It's hard off the top of my head. I've worked with a lot of people.
You
at
know, you
this
don't want them
point.
to feel a certain way if you leave.
If
you
I
didn't say
leave
my
them
name.
out, I know.
Well, you're the one asking for shout outs and shit.
Yeah, and like lots of artists at that level, they come through and I'll tell them, you don't need to come, every week. Like, you just put me in your phone and then you contact me. Like Isla is one that we worked together for a few months, and then I was like, okay, just reach out when you feel like you need something. So she'll come before like an audition or something like this. So I think that's a misconception, is that you have to do lessons every week. Like it's so different depending on what your issues are and what your goals are. But yeah, I love it. So much fun.
Cool. Everybody's different. There's not the same structure or
No.
stuff like that.
No, and a good coach will never teach the same person, like everybody the same way, right? They'll listen to you and they'll create exercises based on what you need, and every lesson you're exploring together. Like, yes, they're your teacher, but you're a team. So if you have a vocal coach and they're not always asking you, how does that feel? What are you doing? What are you thinking about? Then I would question how good of a teacher they are.
Damn,
because
it's kind of like a trainer. Like,
it is like a trainer. Like, I need to know how your brain works to better serve you, because sometimes the biggest issue is that you're overthinking, or I'll say something and you conceptualize it different. And they'll be like, okay, but why are you changing your vowel on this exercise? And they'll be like, but isn't it this? And I'm like, no. So we're always readjusting. And tips for finding a good teacher, because I'm fully booked, so I can't help you.
oh, flossing.
I was
all
just
the
about
other-
to say.
All the other teachers in the
Just
studio are
flexed on
great.
all of us.
But tips for finding one, yeah, they should always be asking you, how do things feel in your body? What are you thinking about? They should be asking you, what are your biggest struggles? They should ask to hear your music, you doing your music as well. And in my opinion, they should have some kind of training in somatic body awareness. So like Alexander Technique, Feldenkrais, anything that gives them the ability to not just say, oh, stop tightening your jaw, but actually like put hands on you and stimulate a different coordination from your response. Because when we think singing, we think just give me the exercise to make me a better singer. But it's actually a nervous system situation. Your nervous system handles a baby listening to people talk. How does this baby's body make that sound? It puts together a sound and a coordination. So when you're having issues as a singer, you have a bad coordination. So you need to rewire your nervous system. We live in a world that's all about end gaining, about achieving a result very quickly. Is it wrong or is it right? But human beings are wired to learn in a way of, okay, I want to pick up this glass of water. If I just go and do it, I'm going to like bring my shoulder and I'm actually compromising my own coordination. So to stop and say, what part of my body am I feeling stimulated? Oh yeah, my arm actually begins on the back of my shoulder blade. So I'm going to go for the cup from there. And you get a totally different coordination. So if your teacher doesn't have the ability to stimulate that in you, I think you're missing out. Because if I say, don't tighten your jaw, your body doesn't know how to not do something that's built into its coordination. So that's like my number one criteria for a good teacher at this point.
Awesome. So we know you're fully booked.
Yeah.
But how about the rest of the people at Express Voice Studio?
Yeah.
Where's the actual location as well? Like, how do we?
Oh, this is
how
such
do
a
we go find
beautiful
it?
part of it. I mean, one day I would love for us to have a commercial space, mostly just because then we could like do mad concerts in it. Because we don't do concerts, we do like events with alcohol and cupcakes and like lights, like everything.
Alcohol's good.
I know.
Cupcakes.
It's
I like
so
cupcakes,
necessary.
yeah.
And cut the cupcakes were
yeah,
lit.
that's
We did one
dope.
right before the last lockdown. I like called the cupcake people. I was like, can you make them my brand colors, like lime green, purple? And she was like, okay, what flavors? I was like, the color of lime green, like make that a flavor. I don't know, whatever you need to do. But
Protein cupcakes for the
oh, that's such a good idea.
It is.
Yeah. So all of the teachers have their own space. So like my studio, I have a like real beautiful piano. I have recording equipment, lights, everything. Verona, same thing. Ian, same thing. Like all of us have our own studio spaces, which is also why they're able to make money as artists, because I'm not taking money for an overhead from them. So we have vocal coaches in every part of the city, like LaSalle, Little Italy, Plateau, downtown, Park Extension. They're somewhere and everywhere.
PX Park Extension in the building.
Yes.
LaSalle's way better,
Yes.
but it's okay.
Yeah, and they're all decked out with equipment to like do recordings and get used to what do I sound singing into a mic, because that's another thing too, right? Like auto tune is a thing. Singing into a mic is so
Because
different.
every mic is going to produce different dynamics.
Yeah, and if you were singing on a stage where there was no mic, like with opera or musical theater, if they didn't have mics, it's all about projection. But when it's a mic, it's about sounding good on the recording or through the speaker. So it's different. So to have that ability in the lesson to get used to that, that's huge too. And like none of us have cheap equipment. We have like $1,500 mics, and because we're artists, so we're set up to
Are they
do
Newmans?
that. I think
It's
that
usually some
Verona
Newmans.
and Ian's are Newmans.
I'm so jealous. I have mic envy right now.
Mike Envy.
Based on a road from like 2016.
Roads are not bad. NT1A? Yeah, it's a good mic.
Wait, I'm picturing Talia. This is how she's gonna look like when she's a grandmother. 7 years old. She got the thing over it.
Always cool. Hey.
Okay, so we're getting to that time of the day that we gotta hand you this. Do the honors.
A giant
Oh my God.
diamond.
Giant
There you
gem.
go.
It's a gem. You have to hold this gem in your hand,
gem,
and you're gonna
okay.
bestow some knowledge
Will you
to
vocalize?
some aspiring singers out there.
Vocalize you.
Some
Some
aspiring
inspire the
singers, some
singers.
entrepreneurs, some people that you know that they shouldn't be singing anymore. Tell them something.
Okay, well, I'll give you a double then. The best advice I ever really manifested for myself was that improving your singing is a game of patience and being super curious. It's not about hitting that note or sounding perfect. It's about asking yourself, what if I did this? What if I changed this? And getting to know your body really well. And in that patience, not being like, I'm going to be patient, but keeping a positive attitude while being patient. Like that's so important.
It's hard to.
And then also like affirming that even if I'm not perfect, I am an artist and I have something to say. That like own that for yourself. Entrepreneur wise, I think the most interesting people I've ever met are ones that have reinvented themselves over and over again. So like, yeah, I'm a singer, but I'm also a vocal coach, but I'm also a web designer, but I'm also a photographer. I'm all of these things. And with every layer that I discover about myself and reinvent myself, there's more confidence in me as an artist. So even if I wasn't trying to be an entrepreneur, I was just trying to be a recording artist, I would ask myself, okay, if I'm not just a singer, like what if I added another tool to my kit and I learned piano or I learned guitar or I worked with someone who's really good at riffs to see if I could build that out into what I do. So I guess it's about being curious and just like learn something new. Don't put yourself in a box.
I agree. Some great advice. I think that's a nice gem that the people can take with them for years to come. What do you think, Ted?
Sure, man.
He always look at me when I'm saying these things. I was like he's like waiting for some shit.
He's
Steve
a little
kills
creepy
me.
sometimes.
Yeah, it's
Steve
getting a
kills
little
me.
creepy
That's all
over
right,
here.
man. I'm a
man.
dad, bro. It's what we do.
You just want the eye contact.
Yeah, don't look at me like that. Anyways, where can the people find Express Voice Studio online?
Yeah, so find us at expressvoicestudio.com or expressvoicestudio.com/FR if you're French. And on Instagram, Express Voice Studio, Facebook, Express Voice Studio. It's pretty simple. I don't change the tags. They're all the same thing.
She's expressing it through her voice.
I'm expressing it right now. And if you are an artist and you think, hey, I could take on some students, contact me. It's just Jordanne at expressvoicestudio.com, especially if you're in Toronto or Ottawa. We're building out those cities next, but eventually be Vancouver, Calgary. Why not the States? Worldwide. Worldwide.
This is worldwide.
Express worldwide. That's where you can find us.
Awesome. So you heard where you can find Express Voice Studio. If you need that vocal coaching in the city, soon worldwide, hit them up. You won't be disappointed. That's the end of the Hustle Podcast. See you guys later. Salute.
Welcome, everybody.
Y'all ready for this?
Don't snipe the people, bro.
Come on, son.
You're killing the viewers, bro.
It's all right, man.
Cut. We good.
The Hustle. My name is Steve Aramopoulos, and these are my co-hosts. I'm Talia. And I'm Tech Luciano. You may have heard me on radio. You may have never heard of me at all, but that's okay.
Y'all gon' learn today. Your whole life was a struggle, had to make it out the jungle. This is a show for you. Welcome to the hustle. Under pressure, never break a fold. Keep chasing your goals until you blow. Now, welcome to the hustle. Take money, make money, build a future forever. Even in stormy weather, we execute for treasure. The grind is real, you know. Got the willpower, Terrence Howard, hustle and flow. Rain, sleet, or snow. The odds against me for sure. I kick down them doors when they close.